You're right. We're live.
Okay. Hi, and welcome everybody to our wonderful panel discussion today. And the topic itself is one that I love. I find it a very challenging topic. Being selfishness is the start of your journey to inner peace. It's such a conflict of statements. So, and I've got a wonderful panel here today to bring their wonderful skills and talents to what we're talking about here. So my name is Kim. I'm the facilitator today. And what I do is like to, starting with Linda, ask our panel to briefly introduce herself, and then we'll get the discussion started. So Linda.
Thank you, Kim. My name's Linda Binns. I am known as the breakthrough energy expert. My focus is on personal energy. I specialize in working with people who are highly sensitive and highly empathic, and helping them understand their own energy and the energy around them so that they can learn how to manage that effectively so that they can thrive.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Linda. And Julie.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Julie DeLucca-Collins, and I am an author, speaker, podcaster. I work with women who are maybe starting a second act and are not completely sure of what to do first, second, or third in order to create that freedom of time, freedom of income to live the life of their dreams. So I am also told today that I was magnificent. So thank you for having me.
A nice way to start the day. Kevin, wonderful to have a chat along. I've been looking forward to meeting you for the first time. So say hi for yourself.
Well, thank you, Kim. It's an honor to be here with all of you. My name is Kevin McNee. I'm a transformational life coach and mentor for men. I help men become the best versions of themselves by truly seeing themselves and believing that they are as powerful as they truly are, and letting go of all of the self-limiting behaviors and beliefs so that they can truly live authentically as the conscious masculine men they're supposed to be.
Thank you very much. And finally, Joe.
Hello, everyone. Excited to be here with you today, and excited to hear that we've got somebody that works with men. So, hi, I am also a empowerment coach. I work with emotional, energetic empowerment, and mainly with women, but I do have a couple of men, and mainly with anxiety and overwhelm. So, helping, people to transform that, and big part of that is being selfish, right? So they can live a life they love and they want. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now, starting with, I'll put the question out to all of you, and I'd like each of you to answer and to give your own personal insights on it. So we'll start with Julie on this one. And the question is, it's such a conflict, this question, what is the fundamental connection between selfishness and inner peace? I mean, they're so separate, and how can they coexist harmoniously?
Thank you, Kim. I think that we live in a world in which we are conditioned that we need to do this and do it this way. And we're following everybody else's recipe for what our life should look like, for the things that we should undertake, that we really start chasing things that maybe are not aligned with us, or not aligned with our gifts, with our desires, with our dreams. And when we are pursuing something that is not really us, that is just predetermined, maybe we go into a career because that's what our parents said that we needed to do. Maybe we feel that I'm not allowed to pursue that artistic class because I am a mom, or I work outside the home. all of that is in conflict, and it really disturbs that inner peace, because one, we're not using our gifts and talent. Number two, we're over exhausting our resources, our personal energy and resources. Lastly, I think that we're taught that we shouldn't be selfish when it comes to us. But ultimately, no matter where we choose to show up, whether it be in our homes, in our jobs or businesses, in our communities, is very important to know specifically, what do you desire for yourself? What are you doing and what you need to edit out of that? And then be okay with saying no. Be okay with walking away from everybody else's expectations. And remember, you're not defined by somebody else's opinion or desires or expectations. So that's a little bit of what I see as that intersection.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Julie. I remember years ago, I finally got an understanding that the opposite of selfishness was selflessness. And it was in that realization that I was being selfless. I wasn't looking after me, that where the growth really started to come in, So thank you very much. Kevin, would you like me to repeat the question or?
No, I have it here.
Okay, great.
When it's interesting you brought up the word selfless, because when I first read the questions, I thought there was a spelling mistake. I was like, I thought it was meant to say selflessness, but the fundamental connection between selfishness and inner peace, I'm going to say that if you're not a little bit selfish, even just a little bit, your life's not going to be very peaceful. And that's one of the things that I've recognized in my own experience, is continuing to give and give and give for all of the shoulds, for all of the supposed to's, for all of the expectations of other people, places, things, jobs, careers, everything outside of you. If you continue to do that, it's not going to be very peaceful. And then what happens is that becomes now a habit. And when you try to pull back and try to say no, or take some time for yourself, be selfish, then there's some pushback, and that's where the challenge lies in a lot of people that that are those people pleasers, the givers, the ones that do everything for everyone else. And I can speak from my own experience. I was one of those, but I would the direct connection to me is, if you're not selfish, it's not going to be very peaceful. That's whether it's in your thoughts, in your heart, or in your physical body.
Yeah, that learning to speak for self and to be able to say no is a challenge for some, just to be able to say no. That's how it goes. Linda, thank you very much. Joe.
Yes, totally. I was sort of on board with both of what the speakers are talking about here, and the selflessness was the piece that I was, looking at when I read that title as well, is because it's, really it's that the difference, isn't it, between selfishness and selflessness, and where the awareness of where it's coming from, I think, is a really big piece here. And knowing self enough to be able to, be clear about saying yes or saying no, okay? Because I think there's a bit of confusion here, because we are conditioned throughout our years, and our younger years in particular, of how we show up. Everything is, is embedded from a very young age unconsciously, and we model those behaviors as we bring them through into our adult lives. So discerning, what is it I want, and what is it that I am, feeling that is not mine. What is not mine? What am I bringing through from my conditioned behaviored self from the past that actually is not ours? So I guess, this piece about knowing self and self-awareness, and coming from that place of the capacity to fully receive and fully give, and being in a place where you know yourself that well, that you can actually go, well, you know what? That actually isn't mine. That's something that, and this is a lot of self-discovery work that needs to happen before sometimes you can even go to that place of knowing. But I guess the awareness of that, maybe these behaviors that we do, that we think we have to do and be and show up for everybody else, is come through, it's being carried through from generation to generation, that we've been modeling. And when we can come to a place of knowing that, then we can question it, so that we can then make decisions based on what is ours, what is our truth, and what we want, and we can coexist in harmony then, with the planet, with people, with everyone. And I think that has to come from a place of heart and compassion as well. So there's a lot of pieces here, and I'm sure we're going to go into more of that as we go along. Oh, Kim, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. My puppy dog started barking, and I've got 5 of them here, so they're all very well behaved at the moment. So anyway, thank you very much, Joe, for that. Linda, for you, with this question.
I would say, as a former people pleaser and person who, like Kevin, put everybody else's needs ahead of my own, I now believe you can't have inner peace. You really can't achieve inner peace without some selfishness. And so many of the people I have worked with have such a hard time doing anything for themselves, even simple things for themselves, because they feel so deeply guilty or ashamed at the selfishness of doing something for themselves. They're so conditioned to doing things for other people. I like to think of it and sort of turn it around and think, well, what if we look at it in a different way and say it's actually selfish not to put yourself first, because you cannot show up as the best version of yourself unless you know what you want, what's most important to you, and you ensure that you receive what you need, because otherwise people are getting a depleted version of you. So even if you are the helper and you think by taking on other people's pain or resolving things for other people, always being there for other people at the expense of yourself, if you think that is being selfless, is being the opposite of selfish, I disagree. I think it isn't. And I know, because I used to be that person. But yeah, I think we need to look at the term of selfishness in a different way. And I don't think you can have inner peace without some selfishness. I think we have to be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I know that it wasn't until the gift that a little bit of selfishness gives you is that it makes you responsible then for yourself. Because I found when I was being selfless, I kept blaming the rest of the world for not having the happiness that I wanted. And it was only through owning that problem that it really started to grow. So there is a real positive in this. But now we get to play with the second question, and this is a really exciting one. And this one's going to start with Kevin. So, Kevin, how can we differentiate between healthy selfishness, which fosters inner peace, and a destructive or excessive selfishness that can lead to negative outcomes?
Yeah, I used to read a book to my kids, and it was all about we all have our own bucket. And we all have our own bucket to fill. And the only way that we can, a lot of times our buckets get empty by filling everyone else's buckets first, when really the only way that we can truly fill each other's buckets is by filling into ours first. So that's how that kind of shows up for me, is the healthy, is it healthy selfishness or excessive selfishness? If it's not feeding into us and what we're feeding into ourselves isn't for the highest good of all, that's where I feel like is a really important determination in what's healthy and what's not. If it's just all a take, and it's not for the betterment of those surrounding you, then I feel like there's the line there where that excessive selfishness and only taking for the good of yourself, whereas reflecting on what are you feeding into yourself so that you're filling your own cup, your own bucket, and it's literally overflowing into others and creating joy, peace for not only yourself but everyone else around you as well.
Thank you. I learnt in life for myself that I used to use a lot of words like should, shouldn't, need to, ought to, have to. And all those words were a part of being selfless. And it was only in learning to really ask myself, do I want to do this? And often what I found is I wanted to do it, but asking that question, it allowed me to do it and want to do it rather than feeling I had to or should, whatever the thing was. So yes, we need to learn that, the difference and the balance of being selfish, but in a kind of way, and not being selfless. Okay, so Joan, for you.
Just I think that comes back to the destructive side of it is, that's going to lead to a place where you won't be good for anybody. Okay, as Linda alluded to, it's like, where do I draw my line? That healthy, and I want to actually bring in the parent here too, because I brought up 4 children on my own, and for me, it was a selfless act. Nobody else was going to do it. So I had to step into being selfless. But then at the same time, I had to learn how to balance that and give to myself so that I had the capacity to give to them. And I think a lot of mothers really take on this sense of guilt around not being able to give what they want to give and also look after themselves. So, around that, awareness piece of, well, what can I do for me that's going to make me a better person for them and be able to show up the way I want? And these are learned things. Again, if we want to go deep there, like when we think of what comes up for you when you're being that selfish person, when you're giving more, what comes up, do you feel guilt? Do you feel shame? What are the emotions that are embedded there that possibly are not yours either? And they're coming from a place of wounding. So these things, when you're aware of them, they can be transformed. So working with that piece to not go down the destructive path and honoring yourself when those feelings come up, so that it's normal and you can come from a place of kindness to self, but still move in the direction of giving to self, because I think that is actually a place of selfishness, has been able to take the time to heal those parts that you feel that you're not good enough is a big one, particularly with women and mothers. And this is opening a bit of a bag of worms here, but it can come back to looking at being selfish and looking at the things that you want to heal inside you to be that person that you want to be. So you don't destructively turn it back in on yourself, right? Because that is the worst kind of destruction. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the part about motherhood and 4 children, and it is such a challenge to maintain that selflessness, which you need to be for your children and be the mother, but also the selfishness for yourself. Whereas you can be in balance, because if you don't, you lose yourself. So thank you. Thank you very much. Linda.
Well, I love what Kevin said, and that is for the highest good of all. And I think, you know, when you keep that in mind, that's a phrase I love to use. I think anytime you are afraid that doing something for yourself is making you selfish, you're absolutely not a selfish person. You're not capable of being a selfish person. If you have ever been around, for example, a narcissist, if you grew up with one, if you have perhaps been married to one, then you know the definition of unhealthy selfishness, because they are incapable of thinking in that way. Right. So they never see anything as them being selfish. It's always, if you do something for yourself, you are selfish because it's harming them, they think. So I think if you are that kind of person that is concerned about, I don't want to be selfish, and if I do this for myself, I'm being selfish, you can't be selfish. I don't think you have it in you, because the very fact that you're thinking that and that you feel that. So it's, you know, anything you do for yourself in that case is not at the expense of someone else. It is really vital for you to do it for yourself, because then you're actually showing up in a better way for everybody else. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but I know what I mean. I don't know.
You explained it very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Julie, last but least.
Well, I'm listening to this panel, and I'm changing my answer a little bit from what I originally wanted to say, because it occurred to me that many of us have been told, at least I was, leave this place better than you found it. And I think that the measuring template, right, is if our actions are leaving this place worse than it is, then we're being selfish. But and for the wrong reasons. Whereas if we are leaving this place in a better way, we're pouring into people, but then we step back and say, that's a no for me, right? Because we want to create that boundary, then we're going to leave the next person that we see, the next place where we go, better than we found it, because we're going to be in a better place to pour into others, to give of ourselves. And many of us are so worried that saying no to somebody is not selfish, but it defines them as, you know, a multitude of things. It could define you as a bad person, or it could define you as someone who doesn't care, does not have empathy. But I want people to realize that that selfishness that allows you to replenish your spirit is the type of selfishness that also is actually going to allow you to plant new seeds in anything that you do. And ultimately, it's not your business to know what everybody else thinks of you. And maybe someone does think you're selfish, and that's okay, as long as you know that this is what you need in order to show up better and make the world better after this. So I think this is how I define it.
Yeah. Thank you. It's so hard to define between selflessness and selfishness. And I know that a number of years ago, I sat down and put a lot of thought in. I thought there's got to be another name for selfishness, because I just didn't like the name. And I really felt that what happens is you go, the journey for me, and I think for a number of people, is that you go where you spend so much time with selflessness, and then you move into the selfishness, but you need to do that to go to a place of self. And it's that third level of self, being in a place of self when you are with everything you do is then done from choice. It's done with love. It's done with kindness. And it's not done because of the guilt that you carry. You know, so I tend to think of it that I've moved into self rather than selfishness. That's the next part of it. So I just wanted to share that with you. Okay. Now we have Joe for the very third question.
Yes. I was just going to say, I love what you just said there. And my term for selfishness is self-love, and selfless, self-lovingness is the word. So yeah, there are ways that we can reframe it, I think.
Yeah, because selfishness has such a negative connotation.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And the moment you say to someone that you've got to get some selfishness, they're instantly
retract. Yeah. It's the word.
So let's see. Third question, Joe. How can people communicate their needs for self-care and boundaries effectively to their friends, family, and colleagues without being perceived as selfish? I mean, that is to go from being selfless to all of a sudden having the courage to speak.
Yes, I love this question. I teach a whole module around it in my group program, and it's just amazing in the reframing of how you can do that. And I would recommend that, because you can say it with love and kindness and care, that in a way that they can understand that. And the other big piece of this is that you're teaching them something. You're teaching them that it's okay to actually have the boundaries in place to be able to say no. So, I see people's heads spin sometimes, like, wow, and I watch my daughter. She's very good at this. She's a highly successful entrepreneur, businesswoman, and CEO actually of her own business. And she's a single mum now, one little one, and she's so good at this, saying, just look, I don't want to do that. And I wish I could say that, but I'm more to the compassionate side, where I would actually say, look, you know what? My capacity is absolutely full right now. There's many ways that you can say it. Please, excuse me this time, but I'm not going to be able to make it. As simple as that. You're coming from your authentic self, your truth, and you're being honest. You're not beating around the bush. What I found is so many people feel they have to make up excuses and reasons to be able to say no. But if you can just go into your heart and go, you know what, is this something that I choose to do? And taking that word out that you talked about before, the shoulds, taking the should out, is I could do it, but is it something that I really am capable of fitting in right now? But even just have I got the capacity to be able to do that? And when you check in with yourself and going into that place, and it is a practice to just be still enough to check in, you could actually, come back with, look, absolutely, I would love to, however, just can't possibly fit that in right now, and not have to feel like you have to make a huge excuse. But it's just not possible right now. Can I take a rain check? Can I There's so many things you can say, maybe next time. But yeah, just being honest and open and authentic.
Yeah. And it takes a little while to learn how to come to peace with the kind of language of being able to say no.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Linda, you're next.
I want to say with this, you very much have to be aware of who you're surrounding yourself with, who is around you, because the unfortunate fact is there will or may be sometimes people who, if you try to do something for yourself or want to say no or put yourself first in any way, will react to that and tell you that is selfish. So what I would say is that we need to ensure that we surround ourselves as much as possible with people who want the best for us and who are supportive. Because if someone wants the best for you and they are supportive, they will never criticize you for wanting to put yourself first. They will support you in any decision you make to take care of yourself, whatever that looks like. So I do think sometimes there may be people in your life, and they may be family members, they may be people at work, who will react when you try to put yourself first. And so it is important to be able to, well, first surround yourself as much as possible with people who support you, no matter what. But when you do encounter those people, you have to learn that, you know, what I had to learn was it's not about me, it's about them. And I have to not take it personally, but I also have to stay true to what's right for me and ensure that I am selfish and put myself first in whatever way I need to, whether or not they can accept that. Because not everybody all the time is going to support you when you want to put yourself first. If they want the best for you, then they absolutely will. And it's true that we really do teach other people how to treat us, because the more you don't put yourself first, the more you allow other people to put their agenda onto you, and make you fit into their expectations, the more they will expect that. And so if you start turning that around, there may be some reaction in the beginning. But I always say, it's as much as possible, find those people who want the best for you, and they will support you and help you to put yourself first and be a little selfish whenever you need to.
Yeah. I love the way you said that sometimes I need to be selfish, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it really is okay. So thank you very much for that. And Julie,
You know, for me, I think that, again, changing the language is important. We don't pay enough attention to our language. We're conditioned to just use the words, I should be doing that, I can't, I won't. And we keep reprogramming ourselves into these things that don't serve us. But the most important thing is go back to, and I think it was Joe who mentioned that self-love, that self-compassion has to be present. When we start to look at ourselves in the same way and with the empathy that we feel for others, if we saw someone that we love really burning themselves out, we would address that. We would talk to them. We would be very compassionate with how we help them along to changing. And I think that's what we need to do for ourselves. Going back to treating our hearts, our spirits in the same way that we would treat that of the people that we love the most. We have to have that compassion. And by the way, when we catch ourselves judging ourselves, compassion for that judge inside you, right? Because that judge is the one that we want to get rid of. Oh, stop judging yourself. Well, let's begin with that awareness of the judge. Let's begin and continue with knowing that the judge is the judge because of the experiences that we've had in our life. And it created those mechanisms. And then let's approach it with that self-compassion. One of the things I like to do is go back, and in the times that I'm having a hard time reframing or feeling that self-compassion, self-love, I remind myself that that child that I was, it's still inside me. And that's who I'm hurting the most when I'm not showing that.
Yeah. And that is just so powerful. I mean, to recognize that it's the child within that is still suffering from all those years ago, and that my role is the adult here, and I'm the one who needs to protect and to have voice and to be clear and to come from a place of love and kindness. So yes, it's a journey, but it's one well worthwhile. Okay, we've got our final question here, so we've got a little bit of time to talk. We're doing very well. So this one is going to go to start with Linda. But what I'd like each of you to do, if possible, is if you can share part of a personal journey or experience where you found that embracing selfishness was the starting point of your own path to inner peace, if you have that kind of story. And how did this impact your life ongoing? By finally hitting that wall or touching that place and saying, enough, or I need to change, or whatever it was that occurred for you, to show people how it can happen and how one day we need to stand up for self. So
Yes.
if we can start with you.
Well, this story, I chose it because I think it was the point at which I realized that if I didn't pay attention to myself, if I didn't follow what I knew to be true for me, in other words, being selfish, if you like, this was the point where I decided I had to do that because I couldn't live the other way anymore. I had agreed to help a friend who was starting a business, starting a magazine, actually. And I don't have any experience of publishing or anything like that, but I am quite good at starting a project, finding the people and pulling them together that are needed to start a project, seeing it through to the point where it's ready to take off. And so I agreed to help this person, and I was quite excited about it. It was something I wanted to do. But I said right from the beginning that once we got to the point where the first issue was ready to be published, that was the point at which I would step back, because my expertise was not in running the magazine. My expertise was in getting it started. And I knew that I needed to step away after that. And I'd said that right from the beginning, and I knew that's what was right for me. And I still remember to this day, the board meeting we had where we're all ready, the publication was ready to go out. And so I said to everybody there, I said, now the first publication is ready, it's time for me to step away. And everybody there said, no, you can't. What are we going to do without you? And all of this kind of thing. And even though I really knew that I wasn't supposed to stay, that it was the wrong thing to do, I didn't want to let anybody down. And so I said, yes, okay, I'll stay for a while. I ended up staying for 5 years. It was a very unhappy 5 years because that was not my expertise. So I was not happy in doing that. But that was the point where I said, I will never do this to myself again. This is why I said at the beginning, I don't think you can have inner peace unless you are willing to be selfish. And I think of selfish as self first. I don't think of it as being selfish. It's putting self first. And everybody wins when you do that, I think. So I think that was the turning point for me. And, that is still very fresh in my mind. And I always put myself first now, and I'm in a very positive way. If I need to say no to something, I do that. But yes, that was the turning point, a big turning point for me.
Yeah, I think we need sometimes those dramatic moments to be able to just say, enough, can't do this no more.
Yes.
Julie.
I really don't know specifically, when we begin to kind of miss the mark. And it really goes back to surrounding ourselves in communities like this one, where we're finding the people that understand, that get it, that can call us back in line, that can help us in the path. I love the concept of finding the believing mirrors, because at times we see a reflection and what we see is not what is there. But in a community, in a place where we surround ourselves with people that can help us along the way and that are our guides, we can really, leverage that presence in our lives to help us navigate this topic, the selfishness, and becoming that person that is ready to really pour into others and really takes care of themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the gift of a panel like this and these kind of panels, because I get to share time with other people that are deep thinkers, and I know that I could sit and have a deep, meaningful conversation with any one of you, which is a wonderful thing. Whereas there's a lot of people that I find it they find it hard to relate to these kind of conversations, because it challenges. And I think and I'd speak for myself, but it's possibly for you too, that it's in that challenge that we grow, that we embrace that challenging our understanding to add to it. It's a wonderful thing to say. Thank you. Kevin, for you.
Well, I'm gonna be a little bit selfish here and go back to that last question because I got missed on that one, but I just which is no problem. I wanted to touch on something that Linda said, having the people closest to you in your life is so important. You realize when you start to be selfish and say no to them, just who actually is closest to you in your life and supports your journey. So I just wanted to touch on that too. And I think it really isn't about them. Their reaction is, but you taking, or me taking care of myself, or us taking care of ourselves, the reaction that happens is only because we've allowed that to be the reality. And there's a quote, and I can't remember who said it, but it's those who benefit from you not having boundaries that are the ones that are most affected when you set them. So that's something that really came through for me. So I just wanted to touch back on that. The personal, sorry.
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say something, but
No, I was
on a
disagreeing
personal,
that statement that you just made. I was just trying to absorb it into my system. It was very powerful.
yeah, I remember when I first heard that, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, right? But on the last question, the personal journey and my own experience, I made so many decisions in my life saying yes to things where I knew in my gut and I felt sick that I was actually going to do this, and I would rearrange everything in my life to make sure that this happened because I didn't want to disappoint or let somebody else down. But inside I just had this turmoil and chaos, knowing that it was causing so much more grief and chaos in my own life. So I started to recognize that I call myself a slow learner. It took me about 40 years before I really started to realize that I could say no, and saying no was this huge issue in my family growing up, as well as how I became successful in life. But when I said no and realized that I could say that and I didn't have to feel guilty for it, it was like, whoa, what a relief. And one of the things for me was when I started to really show up in integrity with myself and start saying yes to the things that were in alignment with me and no to the things that weren't. That really just set me on a path of my own self-discovery, and it was super powerful. So, thanks for letting me touch on both of those.
No, thank you. Those moments, the moments that change our life, Okay, let's have a look. So, Joe.
I love that, Kevin. That was so profound, so true. It's beautiful. Thank you. Okay, the question around personal experience. I really couldn't come up with anything because it's actually been like a journey. It's been a process over time. But the two things that I wanted to share was, I guess, as a teenager and feeling like I had to be part of the pack. when I knew in my heart I was doing wrong. That was huge. But I was so unconsciously aware because, you know, all my own personal trauma and wounds were actually not making me, but were driving my decisions back then. So, but I think the main, where I learned to be selfish, if I want to use that word, or self-loving-ish, is when I had my, you know, they were a gift, having 4 children on my own. That was actually a gift because it taught me how to be. And I think I was guided as well. A lot of things that I thought were, you know, really bad were actually really good looking back. Like the things that landed in my lap, the people I surrounded myself with, the ashrams that I went to, the Steiner School, you know, the people that I surrounded myself with were the foundation for helping me have a selfish space, and would help me, my family, when I needed it. So I could take that time for myself, go to the retreats, go to the spiritual schools and do the work that I needed to do to heal those past patterns of trauma. So it's been an involvement. And I guess you're always going to be learning as well. The journey never ends. So I think the big thing is just something that you said, Kevin, is when you get to that point where you don't feel guilty about saying no to someone or feeling like you let someone down, is when you feel like you've made that progress and you know that you've come back to self and that place that's going to serve you, but everybody, and as you said, the greater good for all, because how can you show up for them when you're not showing up for yourself? And so it's been a bit of an evolvement, and it's always going to be a learning. Yeah.
Always going to be a learning. I agree. It's never ending. Never ending. So thank you. Thank you for the wonderful feedback, the input that you've given. And we still have a few minutes left. So what I'd actually like to do, if that's okay, is give a couple of minutes for you guys to tell the world what it is that you do, to share about you, contacts, things that you do, what you offer. And because, you know, I mean, what wonderful people for them to be able to reach out to. And also location would be, I suppose, important too. So, Linda, we'll start with you.
Thank you. So I help people, as I said earlier, understand and manage their energy. And this is important, especially for those of us who are highly sensitive, highly empathic. We give our energy and our power away in ways that we're not even aware of, not consciously doing it, whether it's self-talk, whether it's saying yes to something we don't really want to do, whether it's saying no when it's something we really want to do. There are so many ways we give our energy and our power away. And we are so affected so easily by other people's energy and the energy around us. And so that's what I do, is I help people understand that, how they're attracting into their life what they're attracting, and how to re-energize themselves. The best way to get in touch with me is through my website. It's just lindabins.com, and you can find all the information you need there, and contact me on social media or reach out to me through the website. I always love to have conversations with people. Thank you.
Thank you. I do believe that Sophie will be coming on just at the end of this, and all of your links and everything will be out there. You know, so that's not a problem at all. Julie.
Thank you, Kim. Again, my name is Julie DeLucca-Collins. I am a Tiny Habits certified coach, and primarily I work with individuals as a business and life strategist. And my goal is to help individuals create the type of life and business so that they can say that they're the CEO of their own life and business, and have the time freedom to do the things that they love, have the impact in the lives of people that they have a burning desire to be able to serve and create that, change in the world, right? And I work with entrepreneurs who are definitely committed to building a better world and leaving it better than they found it. People can find me specifically on all the social medias as Julie DeLucca-Collins. I have a podcast, Casa de Confidence. You can listen to that. And I hope to bring you some inspiration of how to go confidently in the direction of your dreams. And of course, I would say my website is goconfidentlycoaching.com.
Thank you very, very much, Julie. Kevin, for you.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, I created a men's group 3 years ago that's now grown over 240 members. My whole thing when I left, I heard this saying, going from corporate to conscious, and that's what I did, because I believed so much in helping men specifically, but more so the masculine, healing the masculine. And that's who I work with in both men and in women, but specializing in, men are my target. And I believe that helping men heal creates a better world for everyone, and just expands into everyone and the people in their lives. So, the ones that the clients that are like near and dear to my heart are the ones who were me, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years ago. The ones that had everything that they thought that they wanted and were taught was happiness, joy, and fulfillment, but they didn't have it inside. They have very successful high achievers in so many areas, but didn't have that inner peace, that confidence, that courage, that self-worth. So those are, that's what I do with men, and recently with women around the masculine.
And what wonderful growth you've had over the last couple of years. I mean,
yeah, thank you.
So exciting. It really is.
And Facebook, Kevin McNee, Warrior of the Heart is my business page on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
Thank you very much, and for being here tonight or today, whatever part of the world that we're all in.
Tonight for me, I'm in northern Alberta, Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm in Australia, Newcastle. So, Joe, you're next.
Hello, yes, I'm in far north New South Wales, in Australia, on the far north coast of New South Wales, and I've just been watching in the country, in the hinterland. It's beautiful. I've been watching this lizard about this long, just playing around in the sun out there. So I'm surrounded by nature and all the gifts that gives to us. But like I said, I work with primarily women in overwhelm and anxiety. I'm trained in NLP and hypnosis. But I also run the tribe, empowering you to live your best life. So that's my drive, is to help empower more women to live their best life, step into their own power, and heal the wounds, heal the traumas, with that, all the limiting beliefs and programmed behaviors that we have been carrying for too long, ancestral, past life, all of that. And it's my mission to, see as many women thrive, and men. I actually got a couple of men clients as well. So I run group programs. I run a mastermind and a group program. But also, I've just started this last quarter of the year, I've opened up my doors for a 4-week empowering you to live your best life success program, to set you up for the first quarter of next year, to really envision in what you want and start healing those parts of you that doesn't believe that you can have it. So my links will be in the comments, and thank you for having me.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, I believe Sophie is going to be around very soon. I'm not sure where she is at the moment. But just to tie this up for today, would you like to share, and in any order, okay? So I'm not going to pick people, okay? But what have you gained from this panel discussion today? What will you take away from it, if anything?
for me, a connection to all you beautiful people, like-minded people, like spiritually connected, people that I've met here today, but also the wisdom that you shared, and I'm really excited to be a part of your lives and the community, and also knowing that this is going out to so many souls out there on all those platforms that we can help so many others. So thank you so much.
Welcome.
For me, I think it's the gift of talking about this subject, because it's a sort of a taboo, really, talking about being selfish. And so I think it was a gift to be able to have this conversation. And we saw a great example of Kevin, what happens when he said, I'm going to be selfish now because I was missed out in the last question. And I thought that was just such a beautiful example of, what can I call it, empowered selfishness? I don't know. But did anybody here think, oh my goodness, he shouldn't be doing that? No, we all wanted him to share. We all were glad that he shared. And that's what I mean by it's who you surround yourself with, because anytime you stand up for yourself in that way and put yourself first, that's what the right people will do for you. They will support you and encourage you in that. So I thought it was a great example of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda. I want to just kind of like tack onto both of those shares too. There's really truly nothing like the collective wisdom, but also the fact that we were sent these questions prior to this, and literally Julie, Joe, Linda all said, you know what, I'm going to change my answer, and this is what feels right in the moment. I think that's just so much to one, the topic, but also to life in general. Like there's going to be opportunities and moments where it's like what we have prepared or the direction that we're going isn't in alignment with what's meant to be right now, and being able to adapt and shift. So witnessing that from you ladies and on this whole call was I just want to acknowledge you all for that, and I really appreciate that.
Great. Thank you.
Evan, I loved your share, and I think that we sometimes isolate and say, oh, I got to do this on my own. But this is proof, right, that all of us really are complementary to each other, and that together it makes that fire kind of shine brighter. So I loved, I think it's the first time I'm in a panel with each of you. You guys are amazing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I love how, again, Kim, you've did, as always, a great job in moderating. And Sophia, thank you for putting people together in the way that you do, so that we can continue to do the work that we do, but also share with others so that they can come alongside us. So thank you.
And I'd just like to say, Linda just mentioned in regards to when Kevin commented how he missed that previous question. When you said it, Kevin, I didn't actually get it, that I'd missed you. It was just when Linda said it, it was like, did I? And then I noticed that I've got a little note up here. It must have come from Sophie, which says, Kevin missed the last question. It's like, did I do that? So I just sincerely want to apologize to you. It's not because you're male or anything, it was, no. I screwed up.
I think it was necessary for the topic to happen, and it was all meant to be, just like everything. So
yeah.
No, I don't accept your apology.
Yeah, but it shows having voice is a part in self-love and being powerful in self. So thank you. And thank you for today. And it's been a lovely conversation too. I didn't know we'd get any panelists on this one. I thought, oh, this topic might be a bit out there, but no, thank you. But I'll pass it over to Sophie now, and lovely to meet you all. And I hope that we share time again. Okay.
And thank you. And it has been a wonderful conversation. And no, I don't know who reminded you that Kevin missed the if that was Joe. Thank you, Joe. But it has been a wonderful thing.
Thanks,
and such an important topic because, you know, we really do have to be selfish to get that inner peace. I mean, how do we take time out? How do we meditate? How do we look after ourselves if we're not selfish, especially for people who have families, jobs and everything else? It is an essential part of life. So I love the topic. I want to hear round 2 next time. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Kevin, for coming in, Julie and Joe and Linda, and of course Kim for facilitating. Of course, everyone out there who is watching, come and join us for the next one. Do click on all the links. We have been putting everyone's links in the comments, and click on the links for our upcoming panels. We've got so many panels that are coming up, so click on those links. And while you're there, come and join us. Come and join Sacred You just for $1 Australian. And for that, you get 2 weeks to join Joe's tribe, the Empowering You to Live Your Best Life. Thoroughly recommend that one. To join Linda's tribe, the Feng Shui Success Tribe. Really recommend that one. And we've got over 20 other something tribes that you can come and join just for $1 Australian for 2 weeks. And after that, it's just $20 Australian a month. And it's ongoing. You can join tribes, leave tribes, keep on joining tribes. We'll be getting more as we continue going. So come back and join us. We've got panels, I don't know when, but sometime very, very soon. I haven't been looking at that one. I've been putting everyone's links in the comments. It will be great to see you again next time. And again, thank you for our amazing panelists who have taken an hour out of their time to share, to discuss and share their passion on really, being selfish is actually an essential part of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a